And so I'll be speaking to the submission from the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. And I start with a background. The Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation is responsible for providing strategic leadership, policy direction, and administrative oversight for the Federal Civil Service. In the discharge of this mandate, the office is responsible for establishment control, manpower planning, organizational development, career management, deployment of officers, and implementation of government policies relating to the management of the federal public service in accordance with extant public service rules, government circulars, and approved administrative procedures. The Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation is structured into 5 offices, namely the Career Management Office, Service Welfare Office, Special Duties Office, Service Policies and Strategies Office, and the Common Services Office. Mr. Chairman, the submission today actually touches on 3 of these 5 offices, and they're the Career Management Office, which is responsible for matters relating to career progression, postings, deployments, capacity development, and succession management within the service. The Special Duties Office manages the Federal Secretariat and allocation of office space. This office would like to take them one after the other. So the first question, or the first information rather, that this office has been asked to provide is the details of approval, establishment, and administrative structure of Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. And this is our response to that. The approval and establishment of agencies is not within the purview of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. However, the OHCSF is responsible for approving the administrative structure, that is, the organizational structure of federal government agencies. From our records, the council in question submitted a request to the OHCSF for approval of its organizational structure on the 6th of August 2025 without providing the requisite documents. Consequently, the request was not granted. A copy of the request documents from the council is attached and marked as Annexures 1A to C. The second question or information required is the established administrative practice for issuance of authorized establishment. And to that, would like to say that the issuance of an authorized establishment is undertaken through an established administrative process coordinated by the Organization, Design, and Development Department in the Service Policies and Strategies Office of the OHCSF. The process commences with the issuance of a call circular inviting ministries, extra-ministerial departments, and agencies to participate in the annual manpower budget defense exercise. During the exercise, bilateral engagements are held with each organization to review its manpower requirements. Following the bilateral engagements, The requests are subjected to technical assessment by officers of the department and recommendations made. As an established administrative practice, requests are not forwarded individually for approval immediately after each engagement. Rather, requests received from participating organizations are collated, and once they constitute a sizable number, are grouped into batches for processing and submission through the appropriate administrative channel for consideration and approval by the head of the civil service of the Federation. Upon approval of each batch, the Organization Design and Development Department issues the corresponding authorized establishments to the affected organizations. Procedure for newly established organizations. For newly established organizations requiring an initial workforce, requests for an authorized establishment and a provisional recruitment waiver are processed concurrently. The rationale is that the authorized establishment provides the approving staffing structure and authorized positions, while the provisional recruitment waiver permits the organization to recruit personnel into those positions. It is pertinent to note that the provisional recruitment waiver is used to process approvals at the Federal Ministry of Finance and the Federal Character Commission. On receiving relevant approvals from the two MDAs, the applicant agency comes back to the OACSF for its waiver to recruit. Now, the documentation required from newly established organizations are any of the following. One is a letter of appointment of the Chief Executive Officer or Principal Officer. Two is the Establishment Act. Three is the enabling legal instrument establishing the organization or any other relevant document. Procedure for existing ministries, extra-ministerial departments, and agencies. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, for existing MDAs, the following documentation is required: for authorized establishment, nominal role, organizational structure, and proposed manpower requirements by cadre, salary grade level, and number. And for a recruitment waiver, evidence of budgetary provision, forwarding letter from the supervising ministry, list of exited officers, justification for recruitment, copy of the current authorized establishment, and gross monthly personnel cost of the organization. Now I'd like to go on to discuss the interaction of the Office of Head of Service with the agency in question. During the 2025 annual manpower budget defense exercise, representatives of the PEAC/PFIPC, led by a lady who described herself as the Deputy Director Administration, appeared before officers of the Organization Design and Development Department during the organization's bilateral manpower defense. During the engagement, the officials informed the department that the organization was participating in the manpower defense process for the very first time. They further explained that the organization was operating substantially with officers deployed or seconded from other government institutions and required an authorized establishment to facilitate the engagement of substantive personnel. the officials informed the department that 14 officers, including the Director General, the Chief Executive Officer, were already on ground and requested the issuance of an authorized establishment together with a recruitment waiver to enable the organization to commence full operations. The proposed staffing requirements covered senior and junior staff and also made provision for transfers and secondments in accordance with government practice. In support of his request, the agency in question submitted the following documents during the bilateral engagement. 1, photocopy of a letter of appointment of the Director General / Chief Executive Officer, which is hereby attached and marked as Annexure 2. We also received from the agency a photocopy of the organization's mandate, enabling documents attached and marked as Annexure 3. They also submitted a document to show a code that they were already earmarked in the budget. The foregoing documents form the documentary basis for the consideration of the request during the manpower defense exercise. Following the bilateral engagements with PEAC-PFIPC during the 2025 annual manpower budget defense exercise, the request was reviewed by officers of the ODD and in accordance with the office's established administrative procedure. As is the practice, requests from ministries, extra-ministerial departments, and agencies during the manpower budget defense process are collated after the respective engagements. Once the requests constitute a substantial number, they are grouped into batches and forwarded through the appropriate administrative channel for consideration and approval. Accordingly, the agency's request was incorporated into the 4th batch of submissions for the year, alongside similar requests from other participating MDAs. The 4th batch comprised 88 ministries, extra-ministerial departments, and agencies, including the agency in question, and was approved on the 18th of July 2025 by the Permanent Secretary, Common Services Office, who was overseeing the office of the head of the Civil Service of the Federation at that time. Following the approval, the ODD proceeded to issue an authorized establishment to the organizations covered by the 4th batch approval. A copy of the approval is attached as Annexure 4. Pursuant to the approval granted for the 4th batch of submissions, an authorized establishment with a total workforce of 314 positions comprising 14 existing officers and 300 additional positions was issued to the Council. The records of the ODD further confirm that the authorized establishment was collected on behalf of the Council by a certain gentleman who represented the PEAC-PFIPC. A copy of the issued authorized establishment is also attached as Annexure 5, while a copy of the identification card of the officer who received it is also.
Secondly, it is either it has an act establishing it or there is an executive order to that effect. That is the basis upon which a budgetary code is created and given. Now, I've seen from your submission that the Enabling Act that was presented to you was fake. Fake. It was not. It was not. Yeah. It was not original. That's what she said in what I read. Now, in line with the Act Authentication Act, you can leverage your lawyers if they are in line with the excellent provisions of Act Authentication Act. How was it possible for you to have just okayed that document without really finding out whether it is genuine? You are an experienced permanent secretary. I worked with you in education before you went to, and there was a similar thing, issue with your predecessor in education. So in line with the Act Authentication Act, provision of authority, how was it possible that you couldn't verify and you cleared them up from the initial stage for inclusion into the budgeting process and other without verifying that this law is not, the act is fake? Thank you.
Was fake. So the process required these documents to be presented to the officers that were to receive them and to assess them. Unfortunately, those officers, there was no lawyer amongst them, so they just saw that document. It looked like it looked like an act. We only found out that it was not an act when I cited it. When all this problem came up and I said, bring the documents, and immediately I saw it. Because I am a lawyer, Mr. Chairman, honorable members, with over 30 years experience, I saw it and I said, no, there's something wrong with this. But to explain further, at that point when I discovered, I said that means that we need to have another level of verification. And we need to have a lawyer on the team that would receive legal documents so that the lawyer can access every legal document. And I'd like to share with you that we've already begun the process of reviewing our standard operating procedures to ensure that, one, we have a lawyer working in that department and that we have different layers of verification of documents. So we concede that we didn't do the best we ought to have done in cross-checking that document at the time it was presented. As previously stated, it is the established administrative practice of the office that requests for recruitment waivers with respect to newly established organizations that they are processed concurrently with requests for authorized establishment. Ordinarily, the authorized establishment and recruitment waiver letters are issued contemporaneously, that is concurrently, bearing the same approval and issuance dates. In this instance, the batch containing the organization's manpower request was approved on the 18th of July 2025. However, when the organization's representatives came to collect the documents on the 5th of August 2025, only the authorized establishment letter had been prepared and was available for collection. Subsequently, The waiver was issued on the 7th of August, 2025. It should be noted that the fourth batch of the approved authorized establishment was processed using physical file due to the fact that the office's enterprise content management system was down during the period. It was observed that the document presented by the Council as its enabling law or legal instrument did not really carry the requisite features which we later discovered. I would like now, Mr. Chairman, to go on the request for information on staff deployment, recruitment, and placement within the Council in line with the public service rules. And our response is that there was no deployment of staff by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation to the Council. A request from the Council titled, and I quote, "Request for deployment of officers to the Office of the Director General Presidential Economic Advisory Council / Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council was received at the Office of Head of the Civil Service of the Federation through the official registry of the Permanent Secretary Career Management Office. A copy of the letter is attached and marked as Annexure 7. The request relates to the deployment of officers from the Federal Civil Service to support the Council's operations. The matter was handled by the Employee Mobility Department, which is the department responsible for deployment-related matters in the office under the Career Management Office. The request for deployment of officers was received and noted for consideration. However, there was no deployment of officers by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation to the Council. We also wish to state that recruitment and placement of staff in agencies or into agencies is not under the purview of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. It is the responsibility of the agencies to recruit and carry out proper placement of their staff. On the request for information on evidence of compliance with circulars, guidelines, and directives on the creation and running of special purpose vehicles and presidential councils, our response is as follows. Matters relating to compliance with circulars, guidelines, and directives on the creation and running of special purpose vehicles and presidential councils do not fall under the purview of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. These, however, fall within the purview of the agency itself or the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, as the case may be. On the information of details of conditions of service, remuneration, and emoluments of personnel attached to the Council, our response is as follows. While the Office of Head of the Civil Service of the Federation has responsibility for approval of conditions of service of agencies, there is no record of such a request from the Council. Meanwhile, remuneration and emoluments of personnel is not under the purview of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, but under the purview of the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, while the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission is responsible for the remuneration of political appointees and chief executive officers. On the request for clarification on the reporting lines, supervision and oversight mechanisms for the Council within the civil service structure, our response is that the reporting lines, supervision and oversight mechanisms for the Council and other such agencies are not within the purview of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. These are, however, dealt with by the agencies themselves and their supervising ministries. On the issue of any other information or documents that may assist the committee in the effective discharge of its mandate, our response, Mr. Chairman, is that the committee may wish to note that allocation of office spaces in the Federal Secretariat, phases 1, 2, and 3, in the Central Business District and the Old Secretariat is a function of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. However, while there is speculation that the Council occupied office space in the Federal Secretariat, Phase 3, we can state categorically that the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation did not allocate any office space to the PEAC-PFIPC. The office space indicated as the Council's physical address in the Federal Secretariat Phase 3 is part of the office spaces allocated to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, vid letter dated 16th November 2023, to reallocate as they deem fit for the use of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and presidential aids. A copy of the allocation letter to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation is attached and marked as Annexure 9. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, as I conclude, we wish to state that the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation has provided all information within its statutory mandate and available records. Matters relating to the establishment, administration, supervision, and operational oversight of the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council fall outside the purview of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation and are within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Secretary to Government of the Federation, the agencies themselves, and other relevant government institutions. It is therefore respectfully submitted that the committee may engage the appropriate authorities for further information on those specific matters. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. We are only respecting the request of the media, and I can see you are.
And then it is sent to Supreme Court for enrollment. And the Minister of Justice, that's all. So the right place for you would have been the National Assembly and the Supreme Court, where all acts are enrolled. So maybe for future, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I respect the patriotism. Honestly. I respect the patriotism.
And I have seen your presentations. I would like to also know if, by omission or commission, if there is any public officer that has associated him or herself with that agency within your office. And also, I would also like to know if you have made any, if you have realized until this time that this agency in question is not properly established, is not supposed to be an established agency. I would just like you to highlight if you have ever made any signs, warnings, or if you have made any alert about that. Thank you.
Deployment of staff, which we did not deploy staff. The one asking for, the one, not a letter this time, when we issued our call circular for manpower defense, they came forward. So that's the only interaction we had, physical interaction with the agency. The other two were letters, one requesting for organizational structure and one requesting for staff, which were not granted.
Yes, but if I may ask, these are all things that maybe happen spontaneously. They come up with a letter because other agencies are also writing letters. Maybe they put all their requests because they have seen other agencies are equally doing it. And you have mentioned in your presentation that there are approvals you even gave collectively, including this agency in question.
Yeah.
Thank you. But if I may ask, what role does your agency has or your office has to ensure that only duly authorized bodies engage with ministries and the public? I mean, is there any central registry that you have all the agencies and all the agencies that are duly enacted by the National Assembly, something that will show, a central registry that will show that these are the legal agencies you have.
Okay, so the agencies are not under my office. They are under the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The ministries, yes, I deal with the ministries. I have a record of all the ministries. I have a record of the extra-ministerial departments and a record of the agencies under the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. But I do not have, I'm not the responsible agency to have a list of all the agencies in the federal government. That is the responsibility of the office to the Secretary.
Thank you.
Secretary of the Government.
Thank you, honorable colleagues. As the chairman, you have told us a lot of things. One, the offices, you have given us the background of even how your office operates as it relates to the agency under custom. Discussing the career management office, the employee mobility department, you've explained, and what have you. You have specifically responded to the questions we raised in the letter we sent to you. One specific information requested by this committee is details of approval, establishment, and administrative structure, where you say the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation is responsible for approving the administrative structure. That is the organizational structure of federal government agencies. And that request was sent to you. You cited the date, 16 August 2025, 6 August 2025, and you did not hide, you gave us the evidence of the request that was given to you by that agency in custom. And the request to me, based on your evidence, is signed for the Director General, but by Prince Adene Adeyemi, but somebody signed for him, isn't it? One question that I want to put it at the back of your mind is, we want to know who signed this request. You are the head of civil service of the Federation. You are going to help us work with Nigerian people. You are working with the Nigerian people. We want to know who authorizes the request for organizational structure for the IGP-PFIPC, the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. That letter of 6th August 2025, it wasn't the DG that signed, it was a staff that signed for him. Who was that? That is important. Your secretariat staff can take note of that. In the subsequent information that we want from you, we want you to find out. I have 2-3 things that I want you to do. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, at all. Okay. Yes, sir.
That's where you will know, because we have other places that you cited names of individuals that came.
Yes, we know those.
One, the request was met.
Yes.
2, another request in respect of waivers.
Yes.
Some staff executive assistants, I have seen them sign.
Yes.
1, let me be clear. This letter is in circulation. The so-called letter of his appointment, which you attached to us, by Femi Bajabiamila, the chief of staff to the president. The request for organizational structure was said to be signed by a staff or non-staff F. So we may, when we have all those evidences, thirdly, your second evidence that you are helping this committee with is the so-called, I'm very sorry to say that, because I'm a parliament, I know what a law is and what a law is not. So the fake document that looked like an act of the National Assembly, our act is never like what is being presented to us. That one too was presented by someone. Why I'm explaining this, haven't allowed members to ask questions, is for the Nigerian people to know that the fake document related to these agencies are so many. The letter of the 16 requesting you to approve organization structure, which in your wisdom you decline, God bless you, is said to be signed by someone. Act that was put together by someone, not by the National Assembly, which is not gazetted. The act that is gazetted, the first thing you will see on top of the act is the Federal Republic of Nigeria Gazette. It is not mentioned here, like my senior colleague have said. Then we have other information. Requests for waivers. Requests for waivers, you mentioned the name of a woman that came, Mrs. Patricia Akibe, to ask for the request for waiver. We want to partner. This committee will write to that particular woman. But I am very sure if you will be honest like you are, you will help this committee. Patricia cannot submit letter to your head of department without anybody in your office having the telephone number of the person that submit the letter. Yes, yes.
So Patricia,
because we gave the information and they picked her up.
Okay, even though the police is here, and even though we are going to reach out to the police, the information you give the police, we equally want such information. Because this is an investigation that has tripartite approach. No agency can hide anything, so as long as we are conducting public hearing, we want that information given to the police of this committee, so that we follow up and equally interact with the Patricia Akigbe. Yes.
You know, we were almost tempted to just bring the same information.
Yes.
But because you asked specific questions, so we have
It's all the information we have.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer highlighted it. It was approved by bilateral engagement because you don't approve one agency after another. A whole agency which is on. you engage with them and you gave them bilateral approval. But there is one, the record of the Organizational Design and Development Department further confirmed that the authorized establishment was collected on behalf of the council by one Mr. Jacob Oluwayefemi. So one of your approval was given to Mr. Jacob Oluwayefemi David, who is an executive assistant of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. So there are two agencies mentioned here as it relates to Jacob Oluwafemi David. One, Presidential Economic Advisory Council. He's an executive assistant of Presidential Economic Advisory Council and Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. Does Presidential Economic Advisory Council exist?
So what we notice is that with all the documents involved,
Council. It means the general public should not, Nigerian people should not, that the agency in question, Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, have Presidential Economic Advisory Council / Presidential Foreign Investment Intervention Promotion Council. But can you help us? Do you have any information as to where Mr. Jacob Oluwayefemi David worked, or you have handled him the same way you handled the other lady as it relates to the issue of the police?
okay, so we just gave the information about the two persons that the office interacted with. We gave it to the police and that's it.
Okay.
We don't know where they are.
Please, don't look for them, but help us with the information you gave on those two. It's a new request now.
It's the same information.
Here.
Yes.
Okay. The clerk, take note, please. Write to the police. We need detailed information.
So the annexion concerning record, Oluwafemi is annexure 6, because that document is a photocopy of the ID card that he presented. So the officials made a copy of the ID card before giving in the recruitment.
The recruitment. Clerk, sit down, please. I don't want you to be divided. It's very important. David's identity is here, but Mrs. Patricia Ekpigbe's identity is not here. But the Office of the Head of Civil Service did well. Having approved, before they release any approval to you, they need to document you by giving your ID card so that tomorrow they will be able to tell the so-called agency that this is the person that so-so document was surrendered to, which is helping us now. So, but we need a letter urgently today, clerk, signed by myself to the Inspector General of Police. And we will insist that the IG must come here with the team of those investigating this. If EFCC, ICPC are coming here, CBN are coming with authorized letter, I think we will need the IG to come here and lead the team in telling us what happened to these two people, because this investigation cannot be perfectly established. We are at the level of establishing where we are heading to. We must interact with Mrs. Patricia Ekpigbe as well as Mr. David Jacob Oluwafemi. And again, you are widening, the information you are giving us is giving us more work, because we thought we are investigating one agency. We didn't know that the name of the fake agencies are two in one. They always put Presidential Economic Advisory Council / Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. And yet his letter of appointment does not carry that Presidential Economic Advisory Council, but if they are writing to agency, they will include one other agency. He was a DG to two different agencies. We can, based on the evidence before us, he was a DG to Presidential Economic Advisory Council, as well as a Director General to Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. We have all the facts here. So thank you, clerk. Write to them. Write to Federal Character, because the approval for waiver given to them have extended to budget office and federal character. So for this investigation to equally have a very clear procedure, like if the Director General of Budget Office and the Minister for Budget and Economic Planning will come to speak to us like you, I believe Nigerians will know the truth, and the truth, the right thing is going to be established. So I hope with what will go out there in the media, other people we invited will be so patriotic, like the head of civil service of the Federation, to speak to us with fact, to speak to us with evidence, and to speak to us with reference. So I think the two directives is Federal Character Commission, police, yes, Director of Salaries and Chairman Salaries and Wages Commission, as well as Federal Revenue Mobilization Commission, it was mentioned here. So those agencies should be invited to appear on Thursday. Write the letter today. We are equally giving an announcement that the Inspector General of Police, the Executive Secretary, Salary, is it Chairman?
It's being headed by a Chairman.
Okay, Chairman. Salary Mobilization, Wages and
Salaries and Wages Commission.
Yes, Salaries and Wages Commission should come. Federal Revenue Mobilization should come on Thursday, as well as the two individuals mentioned that the police knows their whereabouts. We need them on Thursday to clarify some of these things that are here. So write even to the police that we need the Inspector General of Police to be here in person. So,
budget was put, the council was put on the budget, not by my office, definitely, because we don't have the power or authority to do so.
thank you, Head of Service. Thank you. Any other?
This area, while there is speculation that the Council of Private Offices in the Federal Secretariat is paid, we can state that the Office of Head of Service did not allocate any office space to the PEAC/PFIPC. The office space indicated as the Council's physical address to the Federal Secretariat is part of the office space allocated to Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Treasury. Are you telling this committee indirectly that we should ask Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Treasury about the
Honorable colleague, she can't tell us to ask. She had given us information that they did not allocate office to the fake agency, but they allocated a big space to Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. So this committee will summon the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to tell us, because she had equally given us evidence of allocation of that office to Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, is annexed here. So it's left for us to include invitation to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to come. We will present him with the evidence that there was an approval given to you in 2003 for an office space. How comes that the office space given to the office, your office, is being allocated to an agency under custom? So what he is saying is that we are going to invite the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to come and explain how the office space was allocated to the Presidential Foreign Intervention Investment Promotion Council and Presidential Economic Advisory Council. I don't know. So we will invite the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, include him as part of those to be invited, although he have our pending invitation. So specifically, in addition to the information, we are asking the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to avail this committee. We are equally attaching an addendum to explain how the office, since the head of service have recused herself completely from the fact that they did not allocate that space to that agency, they allocated it to SGF. So the office of the SGF, not attacking SGF. His office should explain to us how that office allocated to him was reallocated to another agency. Any further question? We have other agencies too. So I hereby rule that one, office of the head of service, office of the, let's rule and rule again before we forget. Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, in addition to the first letter sent to him, to appear before us and explain with some document, there is further revelation that the office that the fake agency is occupying was earlier allocated to the office of the Secretary to the State Government. So it is not the office of the head of service that allocated it to the agency in question, rather the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Is it the opinion of the honorable members that in addition to the earlier request, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation should appear with additional information as to why that office was allocated? Is it your general view? Any contrary? It has been approved that Secretary to the Government of the Federation, in addition to the first invitation, should appear before this committee to explain how the office was allocated to the agency under investigation. Secondly, it was also agreed that Federal Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, Salary and Wages Commission, Budget Office, which is the second invitation, and thirdly, Federal Character, should appear before this committee again in addition to the letter sent to them to explain their understanding of the controversy regarding the whole of this thing. Is it the opinion of honorable members? Thank you. They should appear, all of them, on Thursday by 10 a.m. So, Dr. Zainab Gimba, before we move to CBN and other?
So we do not know anything about the 14 officers. They were telling us that the 14 officers, some had been seconded, they had gotten from some other agencies, which is allowed for a new agency. So it was just an information for us so that we take note of those 14 officers in the total number of authorized establishments. So the authorized establishment is made up of existing officers and then the permission to recruit the extra officers.
My question is that,
yes.
Are you the one that authorized the 14 officers?
Oh, not at all. We don't know anything about it.
Who authorized them and from which agency were they seconded?
It's really not our responsibility, ma'am. Because the agencies have the authority to take secondment.
Every agency has the authority to second any of his staff to any other ministry or agency without going through the office of the head of service or the head of the civil service.
Ma'am, they did not send to any other place. These were the staff. Being a new agency, they needed people to start. So these are the staff they on their own sourced for.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we don't know anything about those staff.
Thank you. A big answer to Dr. Zainab is they on their own. And this is where we are here to us. But be that as it may, our engagement cannot be done without you. So we will take the whole of this week in engaging other agencies like Federal Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Budget, the Director General of Budget, the other agencies, Salaries and Wages Commission, Federal Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, and what have you, so that we finish this week. By the time we hear from all agencies, we can now summon you to come and have an engagement with all the agencies so that whatever agencies say, we will summarize our submission before them and find a way out. So I will rule that we may not invite you back until Monday next week, so that it will take us, we equally understand that it's not a hidden news that you have National Council on Establishment.
I don't know if it's possible, even though I don't know, if the question of she said she didn't approve that.
We will get it. We will get it. I don't want us to loom everything on the head of service. We are calling accountant general who have deployed staff there. We are calling some of these people that are already, the police knows their whereabouts. So if the officers we need are from the head of service office, we can give a clear instruction here that provide the officers that are working under you. But we have the powers, I assure you, of getting those 14 officers and the so-called 300 or 200 workers that are working with that agency. We will get there, small by small. But if you now say, head of service, go to the agency under custom and begin to find out where is this, where is that, I don't think that will be fair to her to look for. She has given us information that, in fact, the two she mentioned in her report, she said we should ask the police. And the police are listening, they are here. So we will get there, sir. I assure you.
Yeah, I quite understand. So we're going to invite her because she has taken her best. But I'm supposed to have permission that she can also call her staff to present themselves. In case there's any issue related to their office.
Yes, she will leave one representative that will be listening to be briefing her. Whosoever she chooses to say that he should be attending our sitting to represent her, someone that may not be needed in the ongoing National Council on Establishment. But for the next week, we will need her physically to be here. So I rule that she should be here on Monday next week, and her staff should be present in all our sitting to observe and be updating her so that any information that we will need from her as a result of testimony of other agencies, the staff can communicate to her. I so rule. Thank you. Thank you, head of service. You may wish to take your leave.